With Saluki Hall of Famer Chris Lowery. Welcome. I guess the best place to start is what this means to you.
You know what? When Coach Kill called me and told me, I was with my wife and she was driving and she was like, "What's wrong?" You know, she automatically, how I looked. I was so excited because, as a player, you don't think about that stuff because you're thinking about tomorrow. Mm-hmm. You're thinking about, what are we doing tonight? And the fun things about college, you're not thinking about, are you going to leave a legacy? And what that means to your family who, when I was in high school, the whole family scrounged and got money together. And mm-hmm. Everybody went. Cousins, aunts, uncles, everybody went to see me play. And this is what it was for, to get to this point, to me to be able to say I'm a Hall of Famer at the place I chose to go to school.
And did it two ways, playing and coaching.
Well, now that I'm older.
God, that hurts to hear you say that.
It does hurt. It hurts a lot. My memories come when I talk to my teammates about the SIU. As a coach, it's a lot different because you've seen guys grow up and have kids and have families, mm-hmm. and you're more proud of you being and having a positive effect on them as human beings, more so as players as they leave. Mm-hmm. And there's such a difference to talk about being a player and to talk about being a coach because they're not even close to the same. One side of it is so personal and not selfish, but it's so driven by the fact of how well you played as a player. The other one is driven by how well you coached the guys or how good they were, how they gelled. And you can have a much more broader impact as a coach than you can, obviously, as a player. And I'm so proud to say that both ways that I'm here.
Southern's been to 10 NCAA basketball tournaments, and Chris Lowery, in one form or another, was a member of 7 of those teams. And so you've heard us joke that Southern can't go to the tournament unless Lowery's part of the thing, and that's nice. It gets a laugh. But that's not anything you took lightly. You don't take that stat lightly, do you?
No, it's an emotional thing for me because the result is what everybody sees, the banners, the accolades for our players, but it's more than that. It was the blood, sweat, and tears, both sides. It was the in the trenches with your teammates, and then it was the seeing guys blossom and grow. And seeing guys that you had no idea could get to where they got as a player, mm-hmm. and you wonder how in the world, could he get there? When we recruited him, we expected this, but he turned into this. And to see guys like Darren Brooks, to see the beginning and then to come back to coach the MVP. It was very hard to come back and coach him because he was already an established superstar. Mm-hmm. And for him to be willing to deal with me and allow me to coach him differently, and for him to still be the MVP and win everything again, that's a credit to him because he didn't have to do that. And this day and age, a guy like him transfers to another school because he had a 5th year, and he tests the waters at a big-time school, and we didn't have those issues then, and that's what made this place special.
Or transferred after you redshirted him.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, you wouldn't have redshirted him.
We wouldn't have redshirted. No. Yeah.
He wanted to fight everybody that wanted to redshirt him. We'll talk about your coaching, of course, but first the playing. Your steal numbers and your assist numbers still hold up all these years later. You were a confident player. You felt you could lead the club. You felt you could score when you needed to. You felt you could go get the ball when you needed to. You felt that you could communicate what you should do. So you were a confident player. You knew you were doing good stuff. How does your playing career look to you now?
At the time, just because I had been in a great high school with great players with me that grew into NBA players, right. Never knew how good I was. You never know because you're with them. Then I come here and they're coming off winning 25 games with preseason first team all conference point guard back. So nobody even knows who I am. Is that little dude a manager or is he on the team? That's kind of the approach. And I just remember as a sophomore thinking the first day of practice, I got to replace Sterling Mahan.
Yeah.
That was a bigger deal to me, and I was more worried about it than probably anybody knew at the time, because I didn't come off that way. And I joke all the time, tell Coach Henry, you never ran any plays for me, and I still scored 1,200 points. I knew everybody's plays for everybody else, but you didn't do anything for me. And he just said I didn't have to. You just knew what to do.
Yeah, and you. In the 1,200 points, I mean, you found shots. Shots didn't come to you because of the plays to be won, but it's not like you were a great shooter. Or I mean, if you had to go get the ball and score, that's what you did. If you had to hit a three, if the team needed that to win a game, that's what you did. That's how your points came.
Yeah, I just figured it out because I'd always been that. And in our era, point guards were consummate. You set up guys. You made sure the best players got the ball. You make sure if a person made 2 shots, he got his 3rd attempt. That's not common today because if somebody sees somebody else making shots, they want to make them too. The selfless part of that era where point guards were supposed to be setup guys, point guards were supposed to be an extension of the coach. You do what you're told, you convey that to the players, and you play. And don't complain. And I never did. I complained when he took me out. That was really the only time that we got into it is when Coach would take me out and I would sit by him and just annoy him and he would put me right back in. But, I was with really good players, so you don't know. And you don't think about that stuff till it's done and you ask yourself, like, man, where do we stack up with – I knew I didn't score many points of Sterling, but the thing that we had in our favor, we went to the tournament. We got that part of Coach Caron's career started, the three-peat.
Yeah. 93, I mean, there's been a lot of coaches, teams face pressure. But I don't think anything topped 93, do you?
Oof. That was...
To get to the tournament after all the NITs.
It wasn't a fun year. It wasn't fun until we cut those nets down because there was so much pressure on Coach. There was so much pressure on us. There was a tremendous amount of pressure on Ashraf Amaya to be a pro, to win the Player of the Year again, and to lead us and finally get us over the hump. And I just remember before we went to the Valley tournament, me and Paulie, we just hung out and we just talked about it. We just said we gotta do it. And we got to figure something out, and we just got to go do it. And it kind of started winning at, I forgot where we won at. It's somewhere on the road. And it started there, and I can't remember. And that's old. Old age getting to me. But I just remember us talking and just talking about, we got to get this done. And it didn't start the right way. With Bradley, we got to go to overtime, and we're losing. And I remember Coach took me out. And I just, don't take me out again. We cannot lose this game. I remember saying that to him, and he just said, okay, and he didn't take me out anymore. And Miracle was great down the stretch, and huge and one in overtime, and we closed it. And, then getting to the next game, and finally getting a chance to meet up with Illinois State for the championship. And we knew we were going to win. I mean, we just knew it. If we could get there, we just felt we were going to win, and they were not going to beat us. Because, number one, Vandergaard shot a shot from half court at their place, and it was a 10-point game, and it was a 3-2-1, and he shot it and made it at the buzzer at the end of the game. And we walked off the court and said, if we see those guys again, some payback. And we just knew. And I just remember Maya just started out so good. He blocked everything. He was dunking. He was all over the place, and Marcus and Carr comes off the bench, and Paulie has a stretch where he comes in and scores 3 in a row to get us going, and it was just over. And I remember just sitting there, I didn't even celebrate. I just remember looking at Coach, and I remember he just threw his hands up in the air and just yelled and
ran on the floor.
It was his time, and it was, it was one of those deals where you want something for somebody else.
Sure.
and that's what it was.
Your coaching, Chris, '05, I don't know how much it was said, really, but I know you were motivated by it. That people didn't think that a 32-year-old could come into a program that was successful in his first head coaching job and win. Was that the motivator that I know you said it was at the time? Prove them wrong?
Well, I think it was some of that, but some of it is pedigree. Like where we come from and how we coach is how we coach. And I think sometimes you get caught up with saying a guy played somewhere he can magically coach because he played there. Mm-hmm. But, you know, we understand and we understood what it took to win. And I was a very young guy. Paint was a very young guy the year before. And to do what he did, one game away from undefeated, and knowing what I had a chance to do with so many of those guys coming back, there was so much pressure then, and to just coach those guys, and you know, Stetson and Darren I was so close to them, and you know, just those guys, man. You want to talk about guys who would do anything to win a game. Mm-hmm. And you can't say that about, it's immense talent. There's so many guys who are immensely talented that can win a game off of that. Darren would do something as subtle as tip a ball to a teammate, and then that person would make a shot and then have a good game. Like Darren had a subtle way of helping other guys get better, and he understood that winning was everything. The whole stat sheet mattered, and that's what you just look on there and you'd be like, dang, I knew he had 15, but 8 rebounds, 7 assists, 4 steals, 2 blocks.
Triple-double.
You know, and it's just all over the place. And it's just like, God, that dude was busy today.
2006 was work. That was the hardest one.
That was hard, you know, because we lost. Obviously, you lose. Yeah. It's who's next. It's like, can these guys do it? How good is Jamal Tatum? Mm-hmm. How good is, you know, Matt Shaw going to be in Randall Falker? Where's Tony Young going to, how does he fit in this? And who's this freshman from Chicago that people are talking about that's going to be a 4-year starter? And me and Brian talked about it today. I think we started 2-4 or somewhere around there that year. We started Brian at Wyoming, and then we won 13 in a row from the time Brian Mullen time we were stupid enough to figure out that he needed to be in the lineup and never come out of the game. Yeah. You know, I think that was the importance of him and him establishing how good of a player he was going to be for the future, and also how good Tony and Jamal were. And we didn't know. You know, you just didn't know. You just say, okay, those guys are on the team too. Really good role players. You know, we didn't know that they could get to that level of top 10 players in the league that quick, that young, and really be that feared as players.
You coached the winningest team in school history in 2007. What's the chief memory of that Sweet 16 team, Chris?
I think just crying in the locker room, because maybe we were crazy. We thought we were a Final Four team. And to not have those guys get to that point, I felt like I let them down. And, I mean, to this day, it's still really, really emotional. Because those guys, they were so good. They were really, really good teammates to each other, and they were good players. And I've coached good teams. It doesn't click like that, where anything you say, they can do. Physically, talent, Jamal Tatum can make any shot on the court. You know, he could just do that. Tony Young can guard anybody on the court. And, you know, Matt and Randall were just so good together. And then Brian is the rock solid dude that has everything in control. And I just thought we could beat anybody. And they did too.
I heard you speak one time to a group. It was a reunion group. I hope you remember. It's the only time you talked about race that I heard you. Well, maybe one other time. You said, I think it was maybe a 67 reunion. You said, I want you to know that I don't take lightly, I'm the first black basketball coach at my school. Was that fact important to you?
It was, because
the room went quiet.
The thing about that is you don't, as a player and as a coach, you don't really see that side of what do I look like to other people. Right. You just want to be the best at what you do, and it's always brought up to you from other people. And so when I got named to be the head, that was the first thing somebody said to me, and I was like, okay, yeah, I am. Mm-hmm. Next thing, let's move forward from that. If we're still talking about that being the biggest issue, as opposed to can we win here still, can we continue to be a juggernaut in this league? But it still is important to me because it's something that when you think about all of the racial barriers this place broke down and the great players that came here because of the fact that they couldn't play in other universities, why hadn't that happened sooner? Because that's what this place was about at SIU. It was, and I understood Dwight Morris's mission. I knew that. I understood what he did and what all that meant, and to get great players like Mike Glenn, Walt Frazier, all those guys should have been in the SEC, ACC, right, but couldn't. And to come here and be superstars and NBA guys, they got where they needed to go. They just ended up in Carbondale to get there.
On the way out, I'm curious about these last 2 years. You got a great ovation here last year when Weber and Mullins went in. You're going in the hall this year. It didn't end well here for you. Have these last 2 years, what have they done for you personally? Have they done anything significant in terms of your feelings towards Southern?
My feelings, and I say this all the time, all the guys who I played with, we were upset. Yeah, that's a part of life. When you don't meet expectations at a place that has been a certain way, a change needed to be made. And I understood that and I accepted that. And I've never publicly talked bad about SIU to the public. I've never spoken any ill will because I didn't have any, because this place gave me everything. It gave me my start as a player in the profession. It put me on a higher plane as an assistant, to be able to be recognized for what you did as an assistant, to come be one of the youngest coaches in the country and an NCAA tournament. We all were still pro SIU, but it was hard. And that's the nicest and easiest way that I can explain it. But when Coach finally got in, and Jermaine, and then Brian, it broke the floodgates for everybody else. But that's killer. Like, let's be real, Coach Kill, pestered me, pestered my wife. You guys are coming to this. No, we're not. No, you guys are coming to this. And he called me a couple times out at the lake on the boat late at night. So you can imagine what he was doing on the boat. But he told me, now, in a stern way, you are coming. This is my last time asking you. Yeah. And I just said, you know what, Coach, I'm coming. And so from that point on, Coach Kill made it easier and opened it back up, and there was no ill will at all. And to come back and to experience that and to have fun with those guys that were all here, and it was a good time.
That's great. Congratulations. I'm happy for you.
Thanks, Coach. Thanks. Even, I almost called you Coach, but it's like Coach Harry said, you've seen a lot of games. So, Mike.
Chris Lowery, Saluki Hall of Famer.